violation of the ruling of both the U.S. Supreme Court and the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth District. And I asked the board to reverse the decision and again allow all local nonprofit organizations to have their flyers distributed at the school as long as the contents are in accordance with the policy, Community Relations 4230 from your school. On 18 December, I was not allowed to speak because I wasn't, or the issue was not on the agenda. I did speak to two board members before the meeting, Mr. Donnelly and Mr. Tucker. Mr. Donnelly gave me his phone number and asked me to give him a call, and I did so on 27 December 2024. The solutions that he gave me were a folder outside the office for the flyers where anybody can grab them, use the internet for advertising, and the third item he mentioned was that they were very nervous about possible lawsuits. I told them that I thought that having a folder was no solution. Only a few parents come to the school and even fewer would pick up a flyer, and kids won't pick up a flyer out of that folder. So what would the use be of having flyers? And later when I got at home, or when I was thinking about it at home, I was wondering also if the staff would still censor the flyers. Would they pick out the ones that maybe are from religious organizations that they don't like, or what they would do? That was not addressed. So then the other thing was that policy 4230 states what can and cannot be in flyers. And if these guidelines are followed correctly, then there should be no lawsuits. So, I mean, if we go by what the policy says, then it shouldn't be any problem. Now, the policy 4230 is pretty clear, and it does not state that religious contents or names cannot be used on flyers. And it says, for instance, posters and or flyers subject to a request must be student-oriented and have the sponsoring organization's name prominently displayed. Permission will be denied to post or distribute any material that would disrupt the educational process, violate the rights of others, invade privacy of others, infringe on a copyright, or be obscene, vulgar, or indecent. It states that the sponsoring organization's name has to be prominently displayed.
We're at 3 minutes.
So my question is, how can this be done if you are not allowed to use words like church, Bible, Jesus, Christ, whatever? None of the flyers had information on them that would disrupt the educational process, violate the rights of others, invade the privacy of others, infringe on copyright, or was obscene,
No,
vulgar, or
we've
indecent.
gotten
She's
to 3.
almost done.
Okay, thank you.
Issues like these always start out small and almost unnoticed. When people finally take notice of them, it's often too late. And I'm sure you all learned in your history classes at school that when freedoms have been taken away from people, it's very hard to get them back. We see this happening in other countries. It has happened a lot in other countries, and unfortunately, we're seeing it here now too. So now my question for you is, are you willing to address this issue as an agenda item for February? Or are you going to ignore it in hopes that it goes away? And I'd like to get an answer from you so I can figure out how to proceed with this issue.
Well, I will say, we don't have it on our agenda, but I wanted you to have the chance to speak because we did talk on the phone and things. I said that, I wanted to discuss it with you, but our board makes a decision together. So thanks for bringing that. I did find a policy that applies to the distribution of religious literature. It's policy 2350. And it says students may distribute religious literature to their classmates subject to the same constitutionality acceptable restrictions that the district imposes on the distribution of other non-school literature. Outsiders may not distribute religious or other literature to students on school property, consistent with and pursuant to the district's policy on solicitations.
2350?
Yeah.
Okay, so that policy of yours is not in compliance with what the U.S. Supreme Court says and the Ninth District Court, because they say if you allow one non-religious organization from the community to distribute flyers, then you have to do the same thing with,
Mr. Chair, if I can make a point of order here on this, could we seek legal counsel on this as a board. We certainly don't want to be in violation of any state, federal, all that stuff, right? And it's not going to do us any good to have this back and forth at this time.
Right.
So if we just put this to our legal counsel, we'll let him make that decision, and we'll abide by whatever they say.
Okay.
Another quick clarifying point is the distribution you're speaking about was actually from an organization that was holding an event that had to do with the senior project. So in that way, it was directly tied to the school and to academics. So it's very different than an outside organization advertising something that's completely separate from the school.
So which one are you talking about?
The one
Again,
that
if I may, we really need to keep this on point here, and we shouldn't be having this discussion here. I would let us put it to our attorney, and
Yeah, I think we should get this on the agenda for next month.
we'll have an answer.
Have an answer from an attorney.
Okay, I've noted that here. We can move
Okay.
on.
Thank you. And then we had another one.
Yes, we have Elizabeth Olson.
My name is Elizabeth Olson. I'm representing myself. Thank you for allowing me to testify regarding amended policy 3525, immunization requirements. 3 minutes are not enough to share 5 years of recent vaccine research, but I hope to provide a good overview and have included trustworthy references and links as a handout, which you just received, and I've also emailed these to you. As you may have guessed by looking at us, we are children of the 1950s. Our parents gave us every doctor recommended shot. This do what the authorities recommend policy continued as siblings and our children, our parents. As adults, we received all doctor recommended shots, trusting the medical and government authorities to provide necessary, safe, and effective recommendations for our health. All that changed when COVID hit, and we began investigating not only the COVID shots, but all vaccines. What we learned about their history, testing, efficacy, and side effects was eye-opening. Did you know? No vaccines have been tested in double-blind, placebo-controlled trials. Some vaccines are safety tested only a few days. No long-term studies have been conducted on any vaccine. Many vaccines contain aluminum, a neurotoxin. Under the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act of 1986, there is no manufacturer liability for vaccine-caused injuries or death. Since the 1986 Act, chronic diseases, including autism, have skyrocketed. Unvaccinated kids are healthier. In families where only the first child was fully vaccinated, the oldest is often the sickest and takes longest to recover. School special ed budgets have skyrocketed. Why? Vaccines have poor safety records as shown in underreported government databases. Vaccines do not prevent disease or transmission, which is a CDC admission. Thanks to better sanitation and less crowding, many communicable diseases were on the wane before vaccines became available, or the diseases disappeared on their own. Polio in the 1950s likely was caused by the environmental toxin DDT. Once DDT was banned, polio cases dropped. Many disease outbreaks are traced to environmental factors or to vaccines themselves due to shedding, viral mutations, or asymptomatic transmission by vaccinated people. I just have a few more
That
sentences.
wasn't this one. You've got 30
Today,
seconds.
for example, many cases of polio and COVID are vaccine-induced. Unvaccinated children with healthy immune systems typically recover quickly from childhood illnesses and have lifelong immunity. And some febrile infectious childhood diseases actually may protect against adult cancers. Bottom line, public health officials have not been transparent about vaccines. Censorship has been long-standing and vicious. Parents have not been given true informed consent regarding the benefits and harms of vaccination. Regarding immunization policy 3525, we're asking that no vaccines be recommended or required for school, no pressure, discrimination, or exclusion be permitted against the unvaccinated, whether an outbreak exists or not, and that the board tables its decision and takes more time to revise policy 3525. I'm happy to provide materials and editing assistance if required. Thank you for your time. All my statements are supported in these links. Thank you.
That is a policy that we're gonna be reviewing today. And one paragraph I did want you to be aware of is the exemption.
Yes, I'm aware of it.
You are? So there's several exemptions, but the one, I mean, it says, any minor child whose parent or guardian submits a signed statement to school officials stating their objections on religious or other grounds is exempt from immunization requirements. So in my mind, we're not putting too much pressure on people. It's giving them an option. There's a lot of flexibility there.
So, is it okay if I address, that particular thing really quickly?
The sentence?
The sentence, what Ken just revealed, that is true, but later in the policy, it does state that if there's an outbreak, unvaccinated children will be held home. That's number one. And the other one is the recommended schedule has some very serious side effects for those children. So that is why I'm asking that that not be listed. I think it should be between the doctor and the child's parents, not the
So
school.
the sentence is good, gives flexibility, but maybe just not give the recommendation.
Yeah, well,
Then you'd be happy with the
and
policy, pretty much.
except for the part about if there's
If
an
there's
outbreak. So that, I mean, I'm very happy to submit some suggested evidence for that, if you're interested in tabling that long enough to do that.
Seems reasonable.
All right. Thank you. Next, we're gonna swear in board member candidates. You wanna do that, Seth?
Yes. All right, let's move on.
We just have a short statement that you'll repeat after me. I'll pause to let you catch up, and then you can join the board. I'll go there. I've got you set up. And so just repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Idaho,
and the Constitution of the State of Idaho,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of trustee
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of trustee
of the Garden Valley School District Number 71 according to the best of my ability.
Can I repeat that beginning part?
Absolutely. Of the Garden Valley School District 71,
Of the Garden Valley School District 71,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Perfect.
I was doing so well. You
I'm
complimented
sorry,
me
I
doing a
went
large
long.
chunk.
Sorry. You can go ahead and join them up there. There's a pen for you if you need to take any notes.
I'm excited to be here.
Okay, now we need to determine who's gonna be the chairman for next year.
Well, I see no reason to reinvent the wheel, so I move that we elect Ken Donnelly as chairman for one more year.
I'd second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second, right?
Okay,
I think I heard that. You did.
got a motion and a second to elect Ken Donnelly as the chairman for the 25-26 school year. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, how about vice chair?
I move that we reelect Clay Tucker as vice chair. For the 24-25 school year,
25, 20.
25-26.
Well, it's the
Let me do
24,
that,
25, but we're in a
Anybody else
calendar
wants
year.
to, that's
So
fine.
it could be for the 2025 year, not school year.
Oh, that's right, it's calendar year.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think we're still in discussion on it anyway. No, I'm gonna still do that. I move that we elect Clay Tucker as vice chairman for the 25 calendar year.
Yes, that's second.
Okay.
Now I got confused. 25 calendar. I thought it was 25-26 school year.
No, it's calendar.
Because
Oh, it is by
it's every
calendar.
January, because we're halfway through a school year.
Okay.
So every January.
Oh, I kind of messed up the first one then. Give myself some extra time. All right, we got a motion and a second to elect trustee Tucker as vice chairman for the 25 calendar year. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next is treasurer.
Any volunteers?
Not at all.
You
You want to do it?
I mean, I really don't want to do it either, as I'm
George.
figuring things out.
You're doing that right now, but.
Yeah. I'm a halftime.
Yeah.
So
You-
Plant building.
Yeah,
I'm
there,
able
there
to do
could
it.
be, okay. I was gonna state that there could be a reelection at the time that you resign.
Okay.
So if you want to stay in until you are done here, then
Yeah, we've got a
that's
new
fine.
board member.
Or she just volunteered, so
Okay.
I
whatever.
said if there's no other options, I'd be willing. I'd like
Okay.
some time to become familiar with things first, but.
I can do it.
Oh.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to, elect George Simpson treasurer of the school board for the year 2025.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to elect George Simpson as the treasurer for the 25 calendar year. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Aye. Okay. Now we need to elect the co-board clerks and custodians of record. I don't either.
Do we have to every year?
I mean, it is a statement that goes along with all of this, so yes, but you did also hire them,
Alright, so they're remaining the same.
yes.
I'll make a motion that we maintain or keep the same board clerk and co-board clerk. We name names?
Yep.
Okay. Stephen Korn as the board clerk and Janelle Shanahan as the co-board clerk.
I'll second.
You guys are both custodians of record.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
We are, but duties are split. We can both do it, but duties are split so that Janelle is taking care of that at this time.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to elect Stephanie Korn and Janelle Shanahan as co-board clerks and custodians of record for the 25 calendar year. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next is to establish the signatories.
I don't remember who all of our current signatories are.
Probably the treasurer.
I'm on chair, I got a signatory. And it is.
And one of our clerks. No.
I don't believe so at this time, no. Business manager.
Business manager, that's all.
Mhm.
Do we need to add anybody? Are we good?
And then the Debbie Updike is a signatory.
All right. I'll make a motion to maintain the existing signatories and to add Debbie Updike as an additional signatory for the 25 school, or the 25 calendar.
I'll second.
Okay, just to double check, that was George, me, Debbie,
So,
Yeah. and that's all, the four? Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second to establish George Simpson, Ken Donnelly, Debbie Updike, and Hannah Spafford as the signatories. All in favor for the 25 calendar year? Aye.
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 Motion passes. And I'll need to sign the code of ethics.
There's a double-sided sheet that I passed out and the signatures on the back.
I'll break.
Oh, we could do it at the end. I have other stuff to collect from you guys too.
Okay, you don't want to go group then?
I'll get it.
Shuffle around.
You could do whatever you'd like, Mr.
Okay, I'm
Simpson.
Well, it's easier to read it. Okay. That's just something, yeah.
Chair, change to March 12th or March 26th?
I mean, it just sounds good.
And I do like to be an issue there.
You can just set it right there. I'll get it in a little bit. Thank you.
Next item is to approve or deny Chris Jorgensen as board counsel.
Can we open that up to discussion?
Yeah.
So Clay's got to work with Chris a little bit. Have you got to work with Chris? We work with Chris, you work with Chris. I think Chris has done a good job for us for general counsel.
Mhm.
Hannah, do you have any opinion on that?
I agree. I think the council is adequate, and I recommend that the board approve for sure.
I don't have any reason not to.
No, I think he does a great job for what we asked.
Okay. Here's one make a motion.
I motion that we approve Chris Jorgensen as board counsel for the 25 academic or calendar year.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve Chris Jorgensen as board counsel for the 25 calendar year. All in favor? Aye. 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 Okay, next is to establish the board meeting dates for next year. Either this year.
Move for spring break. We get one move for spring break. It's not your spring break anymore.
The recommendation is to move. Would you like the
Yep.
sheet that I have?
Yeah.
Is that better for you?
Yeah. I read it somewhere.
Okay. Other than that, all of the meetings are planned on this same third Wednesday, right? Okay, yep. Does that interfere with your softball schedule or anything?
Who
Do we know?
would know right now?
Who would know?
I don't-
Oh, okay.
Might be,
I don't know if it might be one game.
In April, maybe? We might have a Wednesday game in April. But it might be here. I think that's your first one.
Okay.
I can.
We'll look into that. But we can address it.
In March. We
Okay.
can address it in March if there's a conflict.
Okay.
Go with our general third Wednesday.
You need to see that.
Okay, is there a preference for the 12th or the 26th?
I'd probably do it on
Do you have a
Yeah,
preference?
but we have to leave, we still have another option.
I'll make a motion to accept the established board meeting dates generally with the Wednesday, the third Wednesday of the month, with the exception of March 12th being an alternative after the spring break.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to accept the third Wednesday of each month as our regular scheduled board meetings with the exception of the March meeting, which will be on March 12th. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Next is to set the notice calendar for 2025 and posting locations. Any questions about any of these posting locations?
Loman Ranger Station is still an option, right? I know it's been hit and miss, but it's still an option, right?
Yes.
It's a courtesy location.
Courtesy, right, yeah.
One that we could add is the one that's right next to my office, right in the middle of town, and I'm a part of it, and I'm glad to help there and snap that one on.
Want to put that on?
Okay, so we can put that as a courtesy location. So,
Coach.
Eric,
I don't know, it's just, I've asked about it, it's my property, I guess, it's not like, but, and I roofed it. It's just in the middle, kind of a public sign area.
Mhm.
I've just kind of designated the second half of it as whatever you want.
Oh, good.
Yeah, other than, I think everything is fine there, so.
Okay.
Yep, you want to do that one?
Sure.
That'll work.
I'll make a motion to set the notice calendar for the 2025 and posting locations, the Garden Valley School, the Garden Valley School District website, courtesy locations, the Garden Valley Post Office, the Garden Valley Library, Garden Valley Reader, the Loman Ranger Station, and Board.
Smiles office.
next to the trustee Ballou's office in Crouch.
Okay. You got a second?
Second.
Okay. Got a motion and a second to set the notice calendar for 2025, the posting locations listed with an additional courtesy location at the billboard in Crouch. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Would you guys like to move any of these consent agenda items to a discussion item?
I would like to talk about the minutes just real quick. No, I don't have any problem with these minutes, but I think going forward, if we have any, I don't want to say disagreement, but the discussion of a agenda item, we can add some of the discussion so we know what happened during the meeting. Just if we can, I don't want to add too much work to our clerk or co-clerk that writes them, but just when you go back to the meeting.
Is this a starting point and it comes up again?
Yeah.
You got an example?
Like Mel Cook.
Yeah,
Brought something
similar
up
to that,
that still is on the agenda for February, that fits in there. If it wasn't on the agenda or something.
Then you could say like discussion ensued.
Yeah,
Or
right.
decided to,
We discussed this item, table it till later, or just if, you know, if you're in motion, 3 minutes now, it's trustee Simpson motion,
right, it's just.
second, that's it.
Right, so in community forum, it's not in this last set of minutes, I hadn't done these, but previously, if we had community forum, I would list the person's name and specific issue or topic they were speaking about. Nothing verbatim, we have that both on audio and on video record now, but we can definitely add that. If it's something that we table, I would just suggest that we do similar. Like this is what was discussed and this is why it was tabled, or more discussion or more education on this, more, you know, like that we're gonna look into this. Sometimes you guys set who's gonna kind of investigate things more, so that can be also added, so that we can track kind of who's up next for delivering information.
Yeah, I'm not asking.
Is that
for
helpful?
Verbatim, but
Yeah.
yeah, just kind of a small summary of
Mhm.
each item.
Yes.
Like when we did open campus for a few in a row or
Mhm.
that kind of thing.
It kind of keeps you a record of where you were at last without having to go back to your video record.
So Superintendent Spafford, are our videos getting posted on the website now? Okay. Yeah, I think that'd be a good little quick read for people if they want to just glance over it. Well, that's why they tabled that.
Yes, and I added a separate pull down and separate tab specifically for school board that links quicker. And so there's not as many clicks that requires to get to something like that any longer. Before you had to go to documents, pull down to school board, and then each thing under that. So it just took a lot more, many more clicks to get for what you were looking for, or to what you were looking
There's a
for.
lot of
Just-
improvement to the website.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been on it a whole lot. But other than that, I have no problem with this consent agenda.
Okay, I made a motion that we approve the consent agenda as written.
I will second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as written. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Next is delegation and reports. Ms. Spafford.
We need to address number 7B.
I thought
That was
all
part
on
of the consent agenda.
Kind of lumped it all together. Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, I think the projector turned off, so you'll have to bear with me. And if you also please, we can turn the lights off. It will become very dark in here, however. Keep that in mind. I'll wait till.
Everyone has their seat.
Introduce yourself.
So, looks like it. Back to.
Thank you for your patience. Okay, so this board report is a little bit abridged because we've had very little time when you count the school days between the last board meeting and today's date. So please bear that in mind. Some activities that have gone on since the last board meeting. We've of course had our winter sports that keep going on. You may recognize this from last time if you were attending last board meeting. We've got wrestling and basketball right now, chiefly. We've also had some outings. Ms. Ogle took a field trip to Pay It Forward for her jewelry making class, and they each got to pick out an item to repurpose into jewelry.
If I may, I happened to be there, and it was great to see our students all in our local community at a local business interacting with each other. It was kind of fun. Yeah.
And they got donuts.
And
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. You may have heard this in the hallway. Ms. Loveland's students are practicing for the Frozen Junior performance. And yes, tomorrow, excitingly. Deputy Gomez held a social media safety class. The seniors have been presenting their senior projects. We've also had some elementary reading buddies going on, so the high schoolers will go over to elementary and read with the littler kids. Yeah. We've been connecting with our partners as always, some highlights. On the 9th, we had a visit from Harlos, which is our busing company, and also an ALMA meeting, which is our student management system, on that same day. The others are ongoing. What we've accomplished, I'm sure everybody will be happy to hear this, the tech issues have been resolved. We have Wi-Fi, we have printing, we have working phones, and things, knock on wood, are going really well right now. We've also, of course, had the end of a semester. With December, the term switched over to the spring term, and grades and some conferences have taken place. I should say final grade reporting for that semester, as well as some conferences have taken place. New schedules for the spring 2025. Ms. Korn, our board clerk, has been instrumental in helping students figure out the right placement as far as classes go. Also, fall teacher observations took place. So basically, this is going into the classroom and having a formal observation. And that happens twice a year. And the second one is tied to the teacher evaluations. We've had in-school committees meeting, including the calendar committee. And one focus of the calendar committee is getting community input. We talked about having a survey distributed to the broader Garden Valley community before a final decision is made for our calendar, but it's early planning. And, yeah, we've started on that. Daily instructional support. Something I want to highlight is that in each of our combination classes, we have 2 of them. We have a kindergarten and first grade combo class, and then a second and third grade combo class. We do have instructional supports for the core classes, and those are happening every day. There have been 8 state and federal reports that have come due. And of course, we have some staffing adjustments, which we're going to be talking about in a little bit more depth later. Oh, I also want to mention, it's not on the slideshow, but excitingly, 2 students have started their electrician apprenticeship programs.
Oh.
And big thank you to Ms. Korn for facilitating that.
wow,
Isn't that great?
that's awesome.
Thank you.
Yes, such good news.
Kind of what was scheduled.
Yes, yes. But we couldn't have made it happen without you, Ms. Korn. Enrollment. Our enrollment is up quite a bit. You can see for the month, this was pulled, I think I pulled it 3 days ago. It's up 5.7%. For the year, 17.5%. And you can see on the right how many folks have been added, how many folks have dropped. Now, right now, we're kind of in a natural flex period in between the semester. There's inevitably going to be drops and adds, but overall, our enrollment is up and we're doing really great things here. And I think our broader community sees that and has been really receptive to it. And kids are coming back. So we're at 241 right now. Oh, we started another one this morning, that's right, so 242, which is really great. Compared to when the year started, we were at, gosh, I think it was 197. Yeah. Just highlighting Deputy Gomez's social media safety class. That's just such a cute picture of him with the puppy. I had to put it on again. And tomorrow I'm meeting with some other folks from Boise County Sheriff's Department and as well as Deputy Gomez.
How well was that attended?
Not as well as we would have liked to. So one thing that we processed after the class was having a better system of distribution so that all of the parents know and can attend because the attendance was a little bit disappointing. Yeah. So we talked about pushing it out on Alma to the parents for whom it would be appropriate and
Do we have
posting it
school
more
social
than once.
media? Like, do we have a school Facebook
We do.
page? Was it on that?
No, I didn't have that.
It's a really good point though.
Yeah. Typically, a lot of our flyers, any kind of fundraisers, things like that, come my direction, but I think it was just a sequence of people, getting work done and everything, and it just was missed. And so I didn't have the flyer to push out online nor on website, on social media or website.
So next time we're going to make some moves to better coordinate. Have that more active distribution. But that is a good point to put it on the Facebook page as well. Frozen Jr. This is from dress rehearsal. It's in the costumes. Good stuff. I'm so excited to see it tomorrow. And of course, this opens January 16th. And it runs through the 18th. And that concludes my reports.
Thank you for that.
Lights back on, okay?
Yes, please.
I'd like to know how you got the electrical thing done too. That's pretty cool.
Through CWI,
Is it really? So you facilitate it through our school? That's awesome.
just like how we do all the
So
others.
we need to get that.
Yeah, it's through workforce development. I've got some other programs coming up as well.
That's pretty cool. Gives those kids that
Yes.
next thing to pull for. Yeah.
So keep that in mind.
You have to have,
In order to look at age.
Thanks for that, Inspector. I have, one of my kids is in the production and then another one's doing Future Cities. And so I've been down here a lot. It's really great to see the number of kids here after school working hard. I think there's 15 in Future Cities this year. There's 35 kids in that production for Frozen. So it's really busy around here, a little bit chaotic at times. I think our maintenance staff deserves some kudos for putting up with that. I know that's been difficult. They even bring some food in and things for snacks for the kids and they're real messy. And I've noticed our janitors really handling that well. So I appreciate it.
They were?
Okay. Yeah, they were. Much better than I would. All right. All right. Next is the nurse report.
Hey, so this is my first time doing this, so where do you want me to stand? Where do you want me to be? I can just sit right here.
If you project your voice well enough, then right there's fine, but our recorder is up by Trustee Simpson. And so
Okay,
that's what I just want to make sure that we can keep it recorded.
and then I don't have a fancy PowerPoint, but I do have, you should all have my report and I have a few extras. I will just set these here. Yes, you want. Thank you. I will put them here, okay. All right, I wasn't quite sure what all information you wanted, but I threw out a fun, what I think is fun parts of my job, some statistics to review, and if you have any questions for me, feel free. I just wanted to share my hours. I'm here part-time. I'm here 2 days a week in Garden Valley. I'm here Mondays and Wednesdays, 9 until the end of school. On the days I'm not here, the front office, my duties somewhat. She also covers every morning from 8 to 9 when I get here, and then the Tuesdays and Thursdays I'm not here. So she's busy picking up when I'm not here. Total office visits for me, this is Mondays and Wednesdays from 9 to 3:50-ish. I had 336 students come through my door. Illnesses that required parents to pick up or guardians to pick up, I had 32 of those this first semester. Injuries that occurred at school, these are like playground injuries, classroom injuries, minor stuff. I had 70 of those. Injuries that occurred outside the school, like injuries at home, like cooking injuries, cat scratches, dog bites, things like that. There were 32 that I cared for here at school. Office visits unspecified, such as bloody noses, tummy aches, things like that, where kids didn't need to go home, but I could tend to them here at school. That was 210. Visits which required short-term medication, meaning like a Tylenol or something for a tummy ache. That was 94 visits for that. We do have students that are on daily or long-term medications. Those were 137 visits for that. Those visits, the front office typically takes care of those daily meds, so I did not include those in my numbers up top. Let's see. Because I'm not sure of the front office's visit numbers, but she says she sees about 10 to 12 students a day. Today I saw probably 17 kids through my door. Yeah, but it can be very busy. I spent a lot of time this semester creating individualized health plans. That's connecting with parents, talking about health concerns, how we can best support their children while they're here at school. Created those plans, distributed those to teachers, update them as necessary. There were 17, so it's 10 students with a total of 17 plans. So there's several kids who have multiple health plans. That's why those numbers differ. Immunization compliance every year. I'm required to report to the state. Kindergarten, 1st, 7th, and 12th grade immunization numbers. In November, there were 68 records checked. 45 of the records are compliant. Referrals made, I have not done any of those this year. As Hannah, the Spafford mentioned, we did have IT issues for the last, December was rough. So I couldn't access and print the IRIS, which is the Idaho State immunization, where I can get my records. That was very difficult. So I do have that on my goal by March 1st is to review all student records, update all my CUME files, and then send out compliance records or compliance referral letters. Those are the parent letters that say, these are where your child is behind. Please update with your provider or sign an exemption. We don't ask questions. We don't make them give a statement of why or why not they want to, they're opting out. They just have to sign. It's easy peasy, okay? They can have those conversations with their own research and their doctors. But that's my goal, March 1st, to get those all out. And hopefully next year, when they return, our numbers will be a little better. I listed out some of the first semester accomplishments, things that I did. I don't know if you want me to go over those. Right now, I don't know how much time we have, but I
have a quick question.
Yes.
Before you go on to that one. When you say referrals, is that referrals about the records? Is it referrals
It's
about something
referral
else?
to the parents of where they're behind, referral to go to their doctor, and these are where they're behind on their immunization. So it just says your child is behind on the Tdap and hepatitis B. And then please update your records with, or schedule an appointment to get those updated, or sign an exemption form that you decline.
Is that mandated or is that just something?
It is, yeah, by the state.
So when you say you're reporting these numbers back to the state?
Correct.
So it would show that if there was an exemption letter, would it be a reportable incident?
It asks for exemptions, how many exemptions, so I do report exemptions.
Okay, so it's another category.
Yes.
You either have compliance or exemptions. Like you
The
have a number
exemptions
of
are
records.
compliance.
Okay, so you have number of records checked.
Mhm.
If these 45 that were in compliance,
They're
Does that
either
include-
exempted or they're up to date on their,
fair enough. Thank you.
Is
Yeah,
it
good
required to
question.
do referrals or not? I get to zero, but does it matter?
That's a good question. I want to say yes, that we do need to send them out because we do want to get 100% compliance, right? Would be best, whether they're fully immunized or they have an exemption. Okay, so some of my accomplishments that I did this first semester, did not have a nurse last year. We had a health aide that did a great job as well as she could with what she was allowed to do, but I organized and stocked the nurse's office, got it up and running first off. And then also the front office, who seconds when I'm not here, kind of got her a little, because our offices are in 2 different locations. I got her set up to do her job as easy as possible. So I know she wears a lot of hats up front. I spent a lot of time with introductions, getting to know students, staff, and learn the culture of the school. I spent a lot of time trying to collect and get medical consent forms. There was new legislation this year about what we're allowed to do as far as health care in the school. So it's real important that we get the parent consents. We're really limited on what we can do without a parental consent. So I worked really hard to try to get those consents, so I don't have to do a phone call every time somebody steps in the room. I don't have to come on, can I give a Band-Aid? So I've worked really hard at trying to get up to date on that. I've got a spreadsheet that I'm updating regularly with that. Spent a lot of time reviewing students who are on daily or long-term medications, making sure that's all ready, that our health aide is also qualified and able to give those safely and appropriately. Trained her on safe medication administration. I talked a little bit about this before. I met with parents and students about health and health plans and creating those, distributing to appropriate personnel. I talked about safe immunization reporting. I also, with the grant that I'm under, I did two different state reports for the grant, one in October and one in January. I've been working with the community school directors, trying to coordinate our resources to have better continuity with students and families. Sorry, I'm gonna dry mouth, sorry. I worked with Officer Gomez during Red Women Week. We tag teamed that. I created a field trip first aid backpack so that teachers can have the things that they need in case little injuries or accidents occur, so that they'll have a little something for that. Sorry. I checked all the AEDs in the school, making sure they're good to go. I do continuing education trainings 2 to 3 times a month to keep up to speed. And this is really high on my list, but it's been a really slow process. We have several kids at school that have anaphylactic allergies, and we have expired EpiPens with an inability to get those renewed. They're very expensive and difficult to get. So I'm trying to work with a program that provides free pens to the schools. However, I have a few challenges, but I'm working and hoping that'll be solved by the end of the week. But that's really high priority for me.
Great.
Comment on the EpiPen.
Yeah.
So it's a well-known risk, right? That these
Yes.
EpiPens cost way more than the actual.
And it's life-saving.
So what we do in our office and what most physicians' offices do is we buy epinephrine. And then we buy the syringe and just hold it here, done. Now,
So
you could do that.
Not everybody.
I'm not prescribing. My problem is I don't have a prescriber who will prescribe. This EpiPens for School website, they have standing orders and everything, but I have to find a provider, and I've reached out to local providers and that do not feel comfortable signing that for liability reasons, which
The
is
doctor's
fine.
office will do it here.
So that's where I'm reaching out to different, I'm looking to the like Central District Health. There's some people that I'm trying to connect with to see if they'll be able to help us out.
Do you do CPR training?
I'm not qualified to teach. I know CPR really well. I'm not
Just
very
asking for
good.
a friend on that.
Yeah, I know. I need to find somebody too.
Well, the fire department does a lot of great medical training every week. I was volunteer for a while, and it might be just a real good resource.
Awesome. I'll try
To
to.
find out about that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was curious about that. Do all the teachers get CPR training? Oh,
Because the coaches are required,
Oh.
and it's hard to get it up here. It's very, I called the fire department 6 or 7 times since I've been here. They don't have anyone to teach the class. They don't have anyone to fit it in. Jason is 1 class away from being certified just to do it, and he's working on that, so that he can fill that hole that we have. As a staff, we definitely need someone to come up and do a 4 to 6 hour first aid, CPR, full license, because coaches have to have it every 2 years. You coach 50 years, you're gonna have 25 times you've done that class.
Are you able to use the RCVers online course?
It's not for coaches recommended by HSAA high school. You have to have an in-person component.
So for that class, when I got my certification, you take the online class and then you are able to go a much shorter
Yeah.
period with one of their ladies and then just complete your certification.
Yeah, that's the other option we've had to go to.
And I mean, the last time I remember it coming into the school, I got my certification 2 years ago. I actually just got an email about needing to re-up. But we did have a CPR training class 2 years ago in January, I'm assuming. So we have had teachers get certified in it before, but everyone that was in that class with me need to re-up on their certification.
I've got a good contact for that too, because they come to my office in Boise either every year, every other year, I do every other year. And so I'll see it like come up there.
Thank you, Mr. Stanton.
yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Ryan,
All right, as far as transportation, we have 2 representatives here because I've been handling at first I was doing all of it, the scheduling and trying to keep up with the maintenance and do all that. That we found out was not realistic with my teaching schedule and trying to get cars down to Boise and wait all day and come back. It just wasn't working. So Gary has definitely picked up the slack the last couple of months on that end of the maintenance side of things that needs to get done. And we've had a few things we can talk about in just a minute. As far as scheduling and how transportation, I'm speaking specifically to our 2 white buses, 15-passenger buses, and our minivan, because that's what I deal with the most for scheduling for field trips or small, or if a team has, needs 1 bus or sometimes 2. If you're the girls' basketball team, they take them both because they're a little bit bigger. The boys' basketball team, excuse me. And so those have been used quite heavily over the course of this school year. And even the minivan was solely the cross-country transportation for the entire season. We never had to vendor out to Harlow's on extra routes or anything at all for that sport because of the minivan. As far as keeping up and keeping maintenance and keeping people going with those, I think it's been fairly good. There are a couple issues we've run into with them. There's one big one that I'm not sure everyone's aware of, but we'll talk about in just a minute. And the only other issue that has come up for me is my coaches going, oh my gosh, this is a lot extra that I've done, like driving everywhere. When I'm supposed to, I'd like to talk to my kids before the game, but I can't because I'm literally focused on the road. And so that's something we might want to look at in the future and talk about with the responsibilities that's added to coaches and time. They're like focused driving to Salmon River and then they're getting out at 9:30 and they're focused till midnight driving back. It's quite a lot of them. So, and they've all mentioned it to me when we did their evaluations, everyone put it on there. this needs to be talked about or addressed in the district. Specific questions, I don't deal with the bus day-to-day runs. Those runs, I don't have much to do. I do most of the sports activities, trying to make sure everyone has transportation for any community. Whether it's Future Cities, Nancy is taking the bus, or with a field trip with the 8th grade, middle schoolers going to Boise State basketball game. They've got it all registered. We've got that set out for the 2 white buses that day for them. It's worked out really well. Questions, specifics?
How long do those 2 white buses have left to be in service?
We just DOT certified, got that done this fall. But I'll
Yeah,
let you talk real quick about that.
We did get that done, which was a good thing, because, all the vehicles, or the 2 buses needed some updates to be, legal for kids to be transferred in them. I want to talk about the minivan versus the 2019 Dodge Grand Caravan. So, it had been spitting a code, and Ben had taken it over, looked at the code and stuff. So it had been having problems before I got here. So we finally got it into the transmission place, December.
Yeah.
And I got it in to get it serviced, get the training serviced. We looked at the code, basically said the code was telling them there's transmission problems. When they pulled the pin, they said that they found transmission parts in the shaving filter. Like that's like it was, oh, okay, I haven't heard that before, but typically metal shavings in the filter. I kind of got a bad feeling in talking to the guy. I said, hey, hold on a second, I need to go have a conversation with some people before I say what to do. Because he automatically wanted to say, hey, it's up on the list, we can put a new transmission in here for $4,500 to $5,500. And I said, well, let me make a phone call. So we talked about it, and I was like, so I think what we're gonna do is just have my guy bring it back. And he goes, well, I got it apart, you can't bring it back. You're gonna have to call a tow truck, it can't sit in my yard. He went on and on and on, and I go, well, I just took it down for a service. Can you please just service it and send it back to me? He's like, oh yeah, sure, we can do that. But he went from really nice to not nice to back to, okay, fine. So it's kind of just, I wasn't super happy with that, but it got serviced, it got brought back, it's driven around just fine. We have told everybody that they cannot take it on trips with kids outside of this valley. I do have, this is what they told me, they sent back an email. I cannot tell how much longer the transmission will continue to work, but probably will not be long before it starts setting other codes and goes into fail-safe, which means it will limp and not really move. I've talked with Ben about this vehicle as far as the tranny goes. He said they're notoriously terrible for this. So we kind of need to make a decision in the future as far as what we're going to do with it. It runs, it drives. It's not allowed to leave the valley. I'll get in it and drive it if I need to go somewhere. Like I said, it drives fine. No problem with it. It's not spitting another code. It's not doing anything fun.
How many miles
We're not
are
putting
there?
kids in it.
How many miles?
Right at 90.
Right at 90,000.
Geez, that's not much.
No, it's not bad.
Okay.
So that's that one. Need to kind of make a decision on that one. We have a 2005, the Chevy Express. That's our best running bus right now. We use that one all the time. It has heater issues in that thing, so kids get cold. The back heat doesn't work, so it's basically run by the front heater and a little fan that you push it to the back. So kids climb in that and bring blankets this time of year. It runs fine, it drives fine, it's certified to do what it needs to do. So that's the one that was bought by the school before. The next one is a 2003 Ford that was donated to us. We have put a little over $4,000 into that. It had brake issues right off the bat that Ben noticed, and he's like, I'm not gonna touch that. So we took it to Boise. They worked on it. I was driving it back home, and one of the seals flew out of the rear end. So we had to deal with that. Took it back to the place. They fixed it. the next outing, the girls' basketball team went to Rimrock. And the things don't, I think things happen by, not by chance, right? There's a reason. I dropped all the girls off and I rolled my window down to talk to a parent and I started creeping forward a little bit and I could hear some rattling. And I was like, well, that doesn't sound good. So anyways, long story short, we avoided major catastrophe, had to leave the bus there. It sheared off 4 of the studs, the wheel studs coming out. So there was only 4 hanging on there. And we were looking for girls. This was definitely communicated to the mechanic shop. We left it there and they took care of everything. They warranted all the work. They redid everything. The guy definitely told me, he's like, we only let the mechanics make 1 error like this. They have another one, they're gone. It went company-wide for them. They sent out emails to everybody because it was a big deal and it was all about cleanliness when putting stuff back together. So there was a little bit of corrosion that probably caused the issue. Anyway, so that's where that sits, and honestly, I can be honest and say that that bus has only made 1 trip into the valley, in Garden Valley since then. So that's kind of where we're at with that. We have spent years, I guess I would say, we had to put, the Chevy, we had to put a new muffler on the Chevy.
New muffler, and then
Right, it pretty much just fell off.
Yeah, we had tires too for the winter stuff. Winter tires.
Yeah, that bus that we first bought, that school first bought, is, we'll continue to have problems with that one as it is a rusted. Yeah, the muffler just fell off. So,
It was 20 years old, right?
yeah, I mean, and
Both
that's,
20 years.
yeah, that's the thing I want to talk about is the longevity of like our rigs. Like we're back there. So.
The bus that we purchased came from the Great Lakes area as well.
And I guess
I
it
mean,
seems
these
like,
are all, I mean, tough decisions with automobiles as we know in our personal lives. How far something's gonna run and what am I gonna do with this vehicle? When we have kids, it's like, we really, that's why we basically, like, I will have an AD meeting next month. I have no problem taking the voice feedback. I don't have kids anymore. I'm not taking that risk. And it, like I said, it's driven perfectly for me since it's been back, but, you know, can we shop around? Can we get someone put it for 3,800 and put a whole new tranny or $4,000 and, you know, to establish what we feel better about? Maybe.
yeah, I mean, I can take it to a second opinion,
Yeah.
and do that. We just,
Have to decide like where we want to spend money, how far we want to chase.
Yeah, I would recommend taking it to a dealership if you have.
I think it's a good thing in a transition.
The Dodge dealership would definitely.
I've been over this before.
Yeah.
You know, and transmissions, and I've, you know, had the opposite where somebody's like, you don't need to do this thing. So,
I think it makes sense to do like a life cycle cost analysis. I see those going up and down all the road all the time, and I'm sure it's a huge savings to the school of having our own vehicles. So I would just figure out how much we save per mile, how many miles we put on per year. Figure out what a new one or a really good one, good shape one is. And
Well, and I think
how
that's
long
the
it
next
takes to pay off.
decision is to look at that
Yeah.
and look at when do we move to something newer, less miles, less maintenance, that we have a warranty on even. That it whole takes 15 kids and they're invaluable versus, I will tell you, they're invaluable versus if we had to spend it out every single time for everything, the budget would blow up.
Right.
So they're very cost effective that way, but we also are trying to look at, like, we're not mechanics, and like safety and like, okay, where's that line of like children?
I would let the 2 people that I think know the most, that I know of, Ben and Matt Frazier knows a lot about cars. He's sold them forever. He's got a good passenger van, but be another resource to just talk to them and say, which one of these vans can you get that doesn't break more than 90,000 miles? Because that's not very much time. 20-year-old ones look amazing how long they've got. So the Ford's useless, kind of useless?
no, we just haven't had opportunity to do
Okay.
it.
No, it's been,
workable.
Yeah.
the
it's-
2 white bus, they're good to go right now. Drive up, we see where we need to go. So,
But the van, if it doesn't go to the valley, what does it get used for?
if there's something that needs to be done around here, close. And that's the last month. That's since December 5th. Up to then, we were using it as as much as we wanted to. So that's all happened in the last month.
And I think we should just, for sure, just check on that one.
Yeah.
Second opinion, so we know, hey, it's safe, we're not gonna get stranded in the winter time.
And you don't need the board's authorization to do that.
Yeah.
Ms. Spafford can say, get the fleet transmission going, right?
So, yeah, we were just kind of giving you the update of where we're at with it.
So I appreciate the information.
All right, you want to put on your other hat?
Yeah. So now,
Director report?
this one is athletic director.
Yeah.
And so I was just looking through a few things because I just like, think it's interesting. So in the fall, we had 51 kids participating in some kind of fall sport activity, cheer, to cross country, to football, to volleyball, out of 92 high school kids. So we're at like 55%. So that would be like 1,200 kids that not participating in athletics. And then I called the AD, my buddy at Mountain View, they had 201. In all of their sports activities in the fall out of 2,400 kids. So we have really high participation. Lots of kids are getting opportunities to be active and do things and be parts of teams and compete in sports. This winter, we're just barely below that. We're at 44 out of 94 that are in activities or sports right now. So we're hovering right in that 50% range that are competing and doing things and being out. And I think it's great programs. As far as reports, I didn't realize that there were so many reports. I've had to turn into the state for fall sports and then compare it to our whole demographic and turn in these long Google Forms, which I'm grateful it's now online on IHSAA. It used to be all, I guess, paper and pencil, mail it in and fax it. So it's all online now, which is great. And I just finished our winter one and submitted all that to the Iowa School Athletic Association. And I have gotten information, and this is brand new, literally today, that where we're trending, I'm probably gonna have to petition to keep us in 1A. We are out of 1A currently. It's 89 and below in high school. We're at 94, and next year we're projecting bigger to 96 or 98. And they give you a 1-year grace period, but they're looking at these numbers. That's why they force us to submit them all, because they're crunching them and seeing where people are supposed to be classified. Because everyone complains about everyone else being in a division they're not supposed to be in. It's unfair. So we are really on the edge of the very, very, very top of the 1A ranking and being pushed into 2. So that's just something I'll deal with and look at and okay, what does that petition process look like? And again, you have a couple of grace years. You have 1 grace year and then it kind of comes in, but we can also show them our middle school numbers and go, this is an anomaly because of our sophomore class. It's pushing our numbers way out of whack, and then we're gonna go back down again. Do you really want us doing this the next 4 or 5 years? I think we'll be fine. And so, because we'll definitely drop back down into 1A, but there could be 2 years where we're technically like the biggest 1A school.
What's the new classification? Changed it 2 years ago or 1 year ago?
This is the official first year,
Okay.
but they piloted it in. So we are 1A, it's the rules 89 and below your 4 high school grades. We're at 94 right now. We'll probably get 96 or 97 next year. And then we'll drop back down to like 86, and that some of the middle school grades get up. So that's just something I'm watching just to see what we need to do to make sure we don't have to jump around. Questions about athletics, things that you're concerned or questions about anything? I know I've met individually about a lot of different topics with
One thing I
sports.
want to mention, I really appreciate the work that you put into doing research on the sound system for the gym.
Oh, yeah.
It's really outdated, a lot of it doesn't work. Anybody that's been to our games sees that we're using a speaker with a microphone. It's
Yeah.
pretty cheesy, so Ryan's put in a ton of effort on that, got contractors to come up with, got some quotes, and even did some pretty significant fundraising on it already, so I'm excited about that.
No, I think the school definitely benefit as a whole from that. That'd be
Yeah.
great. Thank you. And there's another topic that just came up. There's so many going on constantly. I'm learning all the time. If anybody wants any sports schedules, let me know. I got football done the next 2 years. It's completed. Volleyball, I have 1 game to schedule for next fall, and we're done. Trying to get this stuff well in advance, so to get good games and good teams.
Yeah.
And so it's just calling a bunch of EDs, and they're pretty receptive. Yeah, let's do it now. Let's get it set. Because it stinks to scramble for games at the last second.
So having the football lights, did that help us with?
Yeah, they were very excited when I was just at the AD meeting with the long kid. And they're like, I'm like, no, our games are at 7 next year. Really, for sure? I'm like, it's done, they're up, we're going. So they were excited, because even their kids would rather play under the lights than come at 3 o'clock, so. Yeah, and and I already tell you, it's easier to get other teams to come here. When you say it's at 7 o'clock and not 3 on Friday. So other teams are much more receptive, whether it's talking to Dietrich and Carey and Kendrick, and these are the schools where we're talking to about coming here, so. There is another item later. Do you want me to kind of say anything about it now to deal with athletics? We can, on the agenda, it's ties in, it's about like number of participants. and
Oh, why don't we wait till it comes up again?
Okay,
Yeah, because then we're not gonna be voting on it tonight.
okay, yeah, I didn't
But
think so.
it is later. Actually,
Any other questions on?
Just a comment. Any coach that I talk to says you're doing a phenomenal job. Great job.
They're all working their heels off for these kids, so I see what they put in, I'm impressed.
all right, so next up, we got the junior class. Kyle Willie's our student body president, right?
Well, you just read half my speech for me. My name is Kyle Willie. As student body president and a member of the junior class, I have been asked to come up here and represent our class in a presentation and request for this year's prom. Junior classes voted, and the theme of this year's prom is a night in Vegas with a 1920s twist. Currently, we are scheduled for April 26th from 7 to 11 p.m. at H5, since they have so graciously offered it to us for free. We are priced for $20 for a single, $30 for a couple. And if that should help us cover food, drink, and activities. You know, night in Vegas, there's gonna be a couple gambling tables, it'll be fun. If everything's in order, we should be all set, and we're just asking approval from the board.
Well, in light of my experience last year, I was really looking to approve the junior class's presentation junior class's recommendation for prom at H5 for April 26th of 2025.
Second. We got a motion and a second to approve the off-campus request for the prom to be at H5 on April 26th, 7 to 11. All in favor?
Aye.
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 It was so much fun to chaperone that last year. We can do that.
It was great.
We're invited to
I
do
like
it
it.
again.
What's that?
You're invited to do it again.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate you. All right, next up, we have possible executive session. You guys want to motion?
Yeah, I can do that. I'll make a motion to enter into executive session for Idaho Code 74-2061B. Consider evaluation, dismissal, disciplining, your complaints, personnel agency.
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second to enter executive session for Idaho Code 74-2061B for personnel A, B, and C. All in favor? Can we get a roll call vote?
Roll call, please.
Tucker, aye.
George Simpson, aye. Eric Blue, aye.
Kenna Mitchell, aye.
Ken Donnelly, aye.
Can you please stop the recording?
It's all like, you have to go through. We have to go through.